I'm going to be making a beat like Kaytranada, and as usual, I'm just going to use techniques and strategies that I hear in his songs, and hopefully the final product comes out like him. And if it does, then that is why you are seeing this. So this is kind of my second take at this video, but hopefully all turns out well. Like the other one wasn't sounding like him as much as I wanted it to. But again, I want to just start with chords. I was using samples in the other tutorial, so maybe we'll do samples a little bit later. I don't know how that's gonna work, but this time I'm going to try to start with chords. And yeah, let me come back in a second real quick. So right here we have this chord progression, and really I just have this library that I kind of save ideas to right here, and this is just a MIDI clip that I came up with a few days ago, and it's very simple, but I feel as though we can go in a very nice direction. There's a lot of different ways we can go with this progression. So actually what I want to do is so right now we're at 130 BPM, and for this style we would want to go kind of half that, maybe, so like 65. And I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Let's go like 80. Alright, that's kind of fast, maybe 75. And this is a good tempo for house type of tracks, and slower hip hop. We can go either way when we're starting with the drums, but for now let's just focus on the melodic content. So let me extend these maybe. Alright, so that's our chord progression. Let's just get started right away, and let's come up with a melody and kind of stack that over what we have so far. Let's get something very synthy. This is kind of loud. I'm gonna turn down the volume on the. Let me just type it in. So usually he uses FM. Actually, I saw something where it said he uses FM8 a lot. And Ableton has a built-in FM plugin, so a lot of these sounds are gonna be FM. That's so weird. Any type of electronic synthy lead can work for this style. And I mean, we can change it later if it doesn't turn out to sound like him. Let's put this in loop mode and just do this. Yeah, I like being able to play stuff like that. Alright, let's just record a bunch of ideas. Alright, so we just have all this random stuff, and we can just extend it and pull it back, and we'll have all these ideas, and we can just chop out good parts and align it how we want to. Alright, so that's good. Why does it keep changing? Alright, anyways, I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna do this strategy, just chop different parts out, and then we're just gonna make everything be on time. So I'm gonna be right back in a second. Alright, so we have this melody right here, and very basic, and that's alright. But what I want to get started on is the bass line. Always I like to just get the chords, maybe a high instrument, and then the lower end instrument, which is usually the 808 or the bass or whatever. And we can really go kind of in two ways at this point. We can either get a like an acoustic or an electric bass, or we can go with some sort of analog sounding sound. And my pack Lush has a lot of those analog sounds that I'm talking about. It sounds very vintagey, I guess. And I actually think Serum sounds like very high quality for these types of sounds. But definitely check out my pack Lush. It's on seribeats.com. If you use Serum, it has a lot of good stuff in there. But I'm just gonna try different ideas with what we have. Very analog sounding. Let's see what else. So that's an 808. We're not gonna go with 808s in this one. Alright, and we also have parameters down here. That sounds cool. Could be used for a more creative application, I guess. Let's see. This one is more of a square one. Sounds very Kaytranada-y. Alright, I'm just gonna shut up. Let's get this bass drawn in. And something that you'll hear a lot in this style is just octave jumps. So an octave is just the same note but higher up, and it just, when you don't know what else to play, like what other note there is left and nothing sounds good, it's always a good idea to try an octave. And then we're gonna go down to a D, it looks like. What's the last note? It's a C. Alright. Let's bring this up higher. Sounds very cool up here in this higher octave. So we might do some cool stuff with like riffs or whatever and just go very high up. And when you can't hear the bass notes, it's always nice to be able to pull up the octaves and listen to how the notes sound up higher and then bring it down later. And let's get into drums. So I'm gonna pick out some drums real quick, and I'll be back. So I have just this really big archive, and it's just a folder with every sample I've ever had, like every single sample since I started producing. Like I just have so many kits in here. So I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna browse around a little bit and get a snare or maybe 2 snares. We'll just see, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have some basic drums chosen out, and what I've noticed a lot is that he'll have an alternating kind of pattern. And I think in this song we're gonna go with a house kind of pattern. A lot of people requested that, so but he'll alternate the claps. He'll have a soft one and then maybe a hard one, or maybe like a clap and then another layer. So let me just kind of play what I have. It's just a basic snare pattern, and then I alternate it and have another one stacked on top. So nice. It's sounding kind of fast. Let's go ahead and take this down even more. You know what, we're just gonna stick with 75, and if things end up being too fast we can change it later. But I want to add a kick, and kicks are usually very similar, so I just decided to start recording. And I'm just gonna get it from my Hip Hop Essentials kit. So this was a free kit, and I just wanted to show you guys kind of what you get out of it. And it's free to download. There's a video on my channel with it, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. We can get very creative for this style. I don't want something too simple. Maybe the puff kick. I don't know. Let's go ahead and listen. Yeah, see, it's too fast right now, so, and then I'm gonna hit ×2. And now it's too slow. So again, we might change this. Alright, so at this point we have this kick laid out how we want to, but we're going to, when we mix it, everything will start sounding better. I may replace some of these instruments, and at this point we're just going to go with the sound design. So we don't want to get too complicated with this, and with this style, I guess. And it's a lot of mixing, that the mixing kind of makes the whole idea, I guess. And it's just a very catchy pattern, and then some mixing, and then maybe some variation here and there, and some drum fills. And of course we're gonna go way more complicated with the drums. But I'm gonna try to change this instrument real quick and also do some sample digging. So in my archive, I have like a lot of instruments labeled in all kinds of different loops and stuff. And we can hopefully find something. And some of these loops are from like the 90s and stuff. I found some very old stuff in here. Like some of these loops are older than me, so that's kind of crazy. Like literally it says last modified in the 90s, like in the 1997 or something like that. But I'm gonna be right back, and I'm gonna change some of this, like this instrument right here, or maybe keep it the same and do some edits. I don't know yet, but we're gonna be right back. Alright, so I have this melody right here, or this sample that I found, and let's go ahead and play it just so we can hear. And right now it's in beats mode, so it's kind of chopping it up by transients, and a transient is just a peak or transient, however you want to pronounce it. And so I mean, we can play with that and make it so that it's only playing like 50% and make it super plucky, or we can go ahead and change it to complex and it's just going to play the full sample and stretch it. And that's one of the cool parts about Ableton, is that when you're in this warp mode right here, you have all these different ways of stretching a sample. And right now it's not on time, but we can kind of hear what it sounds like. And what you're gonna notice is that it's not in key. So right here I've muted this track, so we're just gonna hear the chords and we're just gonna listen for the tonality. We're just gonna listen to see. We don't have to do all this kind of tuning stuff. We can just really use our ears to see if it's in key. And some of these notes are, but I'm gonna take it up a fifth. So up 7 notes, I think, or sorry, I don't know if that's a fifth or just 7 semitones, and we're just gonna listen. And I know that this is gonna be in scale now, just because I was just listening to it. And right now it's kind of random, but we can do what we did with the melody, and we can chop parts that do match and arrange them how we want to. And actually it was in key at 0, but when you take it up 7, it's also going to be in scale. And let me think about this. Yeah, so it's in scale, but the chords don't match up. And something I was playing around with is I took it up 7 and then I reversed it, and we can get this really cool effect. Especially right here. Really complements the chords pretty well. Anyways, I'm kind of getting distracted. I changed the lead sound, so this is what it sounds like now. And what I want to go ahead and do is, again, chop this up eventually, but for now we're just going to mute it and turn it black, and we're going to call it sample. Just take it, make sure it's out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on, let's add a piano sound. Like, let's just get something that sounds retro. So I'm just going to use Keyscape, and I have it, the Keyscape library in Omnisphere. And we can just use one of their pianos, go very high up. And we can add some effects to this to make it sound more retro. For some reason, oh, I unselected it. And again, I like playing stuff because I just have more control over my ideas. And really, the good producer is somebody that's able to bring what they have in their head into the program and come up with more sophisticated like ideas. So being able to play it just makes the translation process easier. And let me mute this lead, it's kind of loud, or actually turn it down maybe. try something like that. Let me go ahead and record this. Alright, so I came up with a nice piano melody. Kind of has some chords in it. It's kind of like a second layer of chords, and we can kind of add it later in the song. But let me go ahead and play what I made. So just a nice kind of addition. Now we can get into the sound design, and something that I'm sure a ton of people are curious about is the Kaytranada sound design. And he usually has just very unique sounding, just clear chords, and something that he uses a lot is FMA. I actually know that for sure. I've seen it in some sort of, it wasn't an interview, but I saw that he uses FMA, and I was kind of thought that he was using something like FM synthesis, because a lot of the sounds, those chords that you hear that are very they're just really warped sounding. They just sound very I don't know how to describe it, but I knew that it was some sort of FM, and things like Silent and Massive probably wouldn't be able to make this kind of a sound. Alright, anyways, in FM synthesis, basically you have one oscillator going into a different one, and it kind of shapes the sound in a different way than subtractive synthesis. And subtractive synthesis is when you have a wave and then you cut away at it with like filters, and FM is just frequency modulation. So I mean, I'm not sure exactly how the math works behind it, but I can just play around with it until I get something I want. And right now we have a sine wave and then a different sine wave. So when it's not modulated, it's just a regular sine wave, and then wave, and then when you bring it in, it starts to get kind of it just changes. There's more harmonics and stuff, and there's different waveforms, and they do different stuff. But I'm gonna start with 2 sine waves, do something like that. I'm gonna add a third wave, and I'm gonna do an explanation on this kind of plugin eventually. I'm gonna give it a nice plucky attack. Alright, I'm gonna route this one into a different kind of place and route it into itself, so it's gonna start to sound like a saw wave a little bit. Can't really explain what I'm doing. I'm just kind of experimenting with different stuff until I get the sound that I want. I'm kind of aiming for a Rhodes type of sound. Something that sounds very soft. That's not gonna work. Alright, so that's a filter. I don't really need that. Alright, so that sounds good to me. Now, the secret to getting that weird, funky kind of just spacious, kind of warped chord sound, and it's very clean and crisp. It's not crisp, it's just very smooth sounding, is you use chorus. And the chorus in FM8 is really, I don't know, it sounds very different than what I'm used to. But if you turn up the the wetness, and basically put the effect on 100%, and then you start to play with the modulation depth, and some different settings and stuff, and the feedback especially. You get that really weird effect. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but you hear it a lot in his songs on different instruments, especially chords. Very wide sounding. And then we're gonna add maybe some a phaser to make it even more warped and stuff. We just get those really cool chords that he uses. And at this point I wanted to start on the drop, so we can just listen to how this would sound. Sounds kind of high pitched right now. And I might do some more work on this and get a better sound, but that's kind of how he does it. Is he uses the chorus effect, maybe some phaser or flanger effects as well, and he just gets that really weird sound. Again, I don't know how to describe it. We're gonna need like a new word in the dictionary for this. But yeah, I'm just gonna I'm gonna see what I can do with this sound, or maybe try some different variations of this kind of a sound until we find something good, and then I'll be back. So yeah. Alright, so again, we have this really dope sound, and right here I just added a phaser. So this is without the phaser, and I had the chorus on it, and then with the phaser we get that even further kind of warped, spacious effect, I guess. Sounds really nice, especially when it's extended. And let me try to add more notches, I guess. More color. And those of you that listen to Kaytranada and listen to his 99.9% or whatever know what kind of sound I'm talking about. You guys have heard it. Now something else that we can do is tremolo. Now for those of you guys that don't have FM8, I definitely recommend it, but there's different ways to do tremolo. And basically tremolo is just automating the it's automating the volume. So if you have auto pan, what you can do is you can actually turn the phase all the way down to 0% and turn the amount up, and then you get a single wave. Now usually auto pan will cause the sound to go from left to right, but with this on, it causes the volume to start changing because they're both lined up exactly. So now it's affecting the volume. And tremolo is just a wobble effect on the volume, and it adds more movement. So very important to have movement when you're trying to do this kind of style in your sounds. So let's turn it up a little bit more. And it's just something that you can use to just creatively as well in different parts. So maybe one part you have just this very slow kind of thing, and then when things start getting a little bit crazier, you add more tremolo. Like, it's just a really cool effect. But yeah, cool little tricks. I might do more another Ableton tricks video. Now there's other things I wanted to do, like I mean, I think we have vibrato already if we pull up the mod wheel right here. But that just sounds weird. Let's see. Go to the expert and let me detune some of these and maybe have the lead. So our song has a very interesting texture right now with this sound. So really, mixing and sound design make the difference between a good song or a good idea and a bad idea. And as you can tell, just adding that sound made this whole thing sound a lot more just professional, I guess. Let's extend this last one. And right now we're just gonna work on drums a little bit more, so I'll have to think about what I want to add next, because I don't want to sit here and rant for a long time or like take too long choosing sounds and just experimenting. I like it to be entertaining, so I'm just gonna be right back and have something planned out or have a new drum selected, and we're maybe gonna add some fills or whatever, just make everything sound swingy and natural and humanized. All those little details and stuff, and then eventually we're gonna get into mixing and more ideas with the bass, and then we'll be basically done. So yeah. Alright, what I've done here is I've arranged this whole track a little bit more and done just a tiny bit of work to the bass line, and at the end of the bass line I add this little riff right here. After the second bar, or sorry, after the fourth bar, it does this little riff at the end. So we can go ahead and listen to what that sounds like. It's pretty simple. So it kind of does that upwards kind of riff. And then I chopped up the sample that we had, and we can go ahead and listen to that. So you kind of get the point. And I wanted to do this last part on camera. So right here we have this little chop right here, and this is just an example of something I would do with a sample. But if we go ahead and listen to this, I'll just go ahead and play it and I'll show you what I'm about to do. But this right here, I also changed the sound for it, this lead. So that's just something to look out for. But let's go ahead and just play what I have so far, and I'll just do some last edits right here with the sample, but I'll do it on camera. So as you can tell, it's on time and everything. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to change this to beats mode, and what that will allow me to do is chop it up. And right here you can see I have it on full on what is this, play mode, or it's just gonna go through in one direction. So this mode right here means it's just gonna play once. This mode right here means it's going to keep looping, and then this one is gonna keep looping, but the playback is gonna go forwards and backwards. It's kind of hard to explain, but right now I have it in a setting where it's gonna chop it up real quick, and let's just go ahead and listen to that. So that's nice, but then what I did is I reversed it, so it would have a build-up effect. And reverse is just nice in a lot of different situations. Definitely try it out. So it builds up into that drop right there. And right here I have it as well. And that's what we have so far. Now something else I did is I added chorus and delay to this sample, to these sample chops, and I just really went crazy with the chorus. So if we go ahead and listen to it, it's gonna sound like a completely different sound. So really chorus, just chorus, phasers and all that, those are really cool, like creative effects. They're not just they can be used in ways that they're not usually intended to be used, like. So I really went crazy with the feedback, turned up the dry wet knob all the way, so that means it's going to be full chorus, and then I added some delay, and it just gives it a really spacey effect. So, and it sounds really good on this second part. And it really complements that bass line and the rest of the instruments. But what I wanted to do next is just do some more drum work, and for that I'm just gonna have to come back. I haven't really thought about how I'm gonna do this or what drums I'm gonna use, so I'm just gonna come right back. For the drums, I got my Oshi drum rack, and it's something that I made a few months ago, and you can download it for free as well. It's one of those packs that I did for free, and I'm using a drum rack that has impulses built in, and basically it has a randomizer that's going to slightly change the sound of the cymbal or the hi-hats each time I hit it. So it's just an easy way to have kind of more humanization, more randomization, and just have more variation in general. A lot of Asian words, but let's go ahead and just, for now, just come up with something really simple and very okay. So first of all, I need to trim these. So often in a sample you'll have a bunch of, especially realistic ones, recorded samples, they'll have like a bunch of open space in front of it, and you could use that to have some delay and have it hit a little bit later. But obviously if you want to have more control, you just want to trim it down until it's at the start point, because you don't want to have that delay if you're trying to have it exactly on point at certain parts. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and come up with something, and I just do whatever. I'm just gonna solo the chords, the drums, the drum rack, and we're just gonna go here. Let me get the lounge lizard chords. Alright, let's come up with something simple. And we can keep doing that with that instrument. So that instrument's out of the way, or sorry, this sound right here. Eventually we're gonna change the velocity a little bit, but for now that's done. Alright, so that's good. I'm just doing this by ear, and right here I have this tom. So let's go ahead and play. Alright, it kind of adds that house feeling. So right here, I did some kind of clap variations as well. And you'll hear that in his songs. Like, his clap will be just a little bit different each time. So I try to switch it up on each hit. And we'll perfect it a little bit later. But that's just something I did. And let's copy this tom pattern. Alright, so sounding very electronic and kind of like a disco track right now. And eventually we'll do some stuff where when the hi-hat hits, it's gonna cut off the other sound. All that is gonna add to the human factor, make it sound like it's actually realistic. And I keep forgetting that I have this rack right here, so I'm also gonna do some stuff with that. And this one's gonna be a little bit easier because it's automatically gonna randomize stuff. I'm gonna turn down the velocity on this one. Wait a second. I kind of wanted to do something with that sound. Add some swing. Wait, what? Alright, now let's work on this right here. And I'm just doing this by ear and kind of what I hear in my brain and what I want to hear next. And there's no real formula to this. It's all like imagination and creativity. So people always want to see the process behind drums, but it's just like every other instrument. You just want to place the hi-hats where you hear them. Alright, that sounds too trappy. And I might cut forward if this starts taking too long. Want to add some different instruments with different timbres, whatever, different sounds that have a different texture. Like this one right here, a little bit more aggressive sounding. Oh, there we go. Right there. And down here I have some drum loops as well that we can use to get the groove out of it. In Ableton you can take the groove out of a certain clip and it's gonna match all these different peaks and it's gonna save the actual swing and everything, and you can apply it to any clip. So I listened to a few of my loops and I found some that kind of fit this tempo, and we can eventually just take the rhythm out of this and put it into our own stuff. So that's just what those are doing. But what I wanted to do is do something with the bass as well, because when you listen to it, it's all simple and stuff, but at this second part I want it to be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more aggressive. So as of now, the bass is gonna be like a plucky sound, but what I wanted to do is extend it at the second part so that we can get a longer extended note. So something like that. And we can do like some glides and stuff. And right here, we're gonna keep the pluckiness. Is it stacked on top of it? Oh yeah, it is. I'm gonna play with the pluckiness and stuff, make it more realistic. And I'm playing with the mod wheel as well. Let me show you guys this right here. And we have the detune as well. A lot of noise right now outside. There's an airplane flying by and stuff. I'm gonna turn up the resonance to about 20%. And we're gonna bring in the drums in this second part. And I'm gonna get rid of these chords that I had there. And right now we can get crazy on this second part with the drums. We can start adding more trappy drums. So we're getting this really cool rhythm already. Everything just adds up. And then when we do the mixing and make everything pop out, it's gonna sound even better. So always just push through the times where your song isn't sounding too good, and eventually when you start adding the different sounds and thinking about sound design, things will start to sound better. So just because something sounds bad initially doesn't mean it's gonna sound bad in the end. if you kind of push through, and eventually you'll be able to hear good ideas even when the sounds aren't good or when something sounds corny. We've all heard those songs that have very corny sounds, or they're very simple but they sound super good. Usually somebody skilled that knows a good idea from that can tell the difference between a good idea and a bad idea is the person that's behind those kind of songs. Like, they just know that the mixing is gonna make it into a good idea that's gonna be catchy. So the main point of what I'm trying to say is sometimes things are just not gonna sound good at first, but if you push through to the end, to the kind of last mixing phase and the sound design, and you kind of just keep going, sometimes it'll end up sounding good. So don't give up on yourself too easily. I don't like this second one right here. And we're gonna go crazy with the hats at the end right here. Alright, and so this part right here, all these little C notes right here, they sound too plain to me. So we're gonna do something creative. We're gonna change the note a little bit, maybe come up with something different. Nah, I don't like that. Maybe do octaves. So like I said, when no other note sounds good, you can try octaves and stuff. Maybe let's do like a glide or something. So I'm gonna play with the glide time real quick. Let's reverse it and see what that sounds like. Nah. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm gonna go with this. Let's see what happens if we transpose this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so that's good enough for me. Maybe we can add like some sort of effects and stuff to this. I don't want to go with a chorus on the bass because that's going to be weird. But we can detune this to... We can detune this to get a wider sound. So we'll do that on the second part of the drop. Right here. So everything sounded really nice with the extra sound design, like I said. So we're really trying to bring this idea to its fullest kind of capacity. But I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna make some final changes and stuff, and then we're just gonna get into the mixing process, because you guys have seen enough of the drums. It's pretty simple, to be honest. And then I'll try to humanize stuff too on camera. It kind of depends. We'll see. I'll just come back in a second. I'm just gonna get to work humanizing as many elements as I can, and I'm just gonna get right into it. So I just want to start with the chords, because right now they're too straight, they're too perfect, and I feel as though they could be better. And I made a few changes since last time, but I'll go over those in a second. And basically with chords, you want to have rolls, so more realistic kind of stuff, and maybe vary the velocity a little bit, and have the top note be the most prominent kind of note, and maybe the bottom note, because sometimes, you know, as a piano player or whatever, you may hit the bottom note a little bit harder, and the top note as well, because those are the two main ones. You just kind of want to get in the mind of like a realistic, in the mind of like a human kind of player for each instrument. Even if you don't know how that would sound, just kind of estimate how you think the notes would be played. And then on the second one, I'm gonna copy this, and we're just gonna do a different pattern. Alright, so kind of something like that for the last part. And I want to change this instrument. So I started out with Lounge Lizard, very basic, and it gets the basic sound down. But I do have Contact, and I have Keyscape, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get a better quality sound real quick. And what's cool about Keyscape is that you can have it inside the Omnisphere library, and you can combine it with different Omnisphere sounds. And yeah, so it just has a lot more character already. Again, with the chorus, you get that cool kind of delayed phased kind of effect. Said kind of a lot of times. We're just gonna go with a basic one, something simple, because we want it to contrast with the special chords that we have here. So same thing with the beginning. We could even just copy what we have here. You don't have to be so realistic that you're adding variation everywhere. Most likely people won't be able to notice, or people won't correlate the first part with the last part. So we can just copy what we have and put it here, and it'll still have that realistic sound, and it won't sound repetitive because they're so far apart that no one's really gonna notice. We can get rid of this last part. And then we get those really nice chords. I don't want to add too much to this right here. But right here, as you can tell, these chords have a lot of different stacks, or extra notes stacked underneath and on top, and that's just something I added. But what I wanted to do is have it be varied. So first be normal, and then have those notes come in. But anyways, so we're done with the chords. Now we can go ahead and move on to, I don't know, I don't want to do the bass line just yet. Let's try to get the drums a little bit humanized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into these right here, these loops that we have, and we're just gonna chop them up a little bit, and we're gonna extract the groove. So when you look very closely, these sounds are not hitting exactly on time, but they still sound on time, but they have just a little bit of groove to them. So what we can do is extract the groove from this, and this one is from DHS Disco Drums or whatever, DHS Disco. So if you're interested in some of these samples, you can go ahead and look them up. I think they're free. And now we can go to the groove pool right here. The groove pool has all your different swings and stuff, and we can go ahead and apply this to different sounds. So this is our regular one, very on time, and unfortunately that's not what we want. We want it to be a little bit more swingy. So the alternative is that you can also play the drums to get a realistic kind of groove. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna commit it, and we're gonna see that it's a little bit delayed. But as you can tell, all of these are layered, like they're all stacked, and what we want is to have some be a little bit earlier than others, and others be later. Especially the claps. The claps are always going to be just a little bit earlier. So again, the claps are going to be just a little bit earlier. So that we get that kind of suction kind of feeling, like they're all sucking into the kick, like they're all reversing, like kind of like a reverse effect, and it goes into the kick. And the kick kind of punches through a little bit stronger when you do that. So this one's really delayed right here. Alright, nice. So that's something that's cool about Ableton, is that you can just extract the groove from MIDI clips and audio clips as well. And you can go ahead and apply that to any instrument. Alright, so that's that right here. Now let's listen to our hi-hats. Oh yeah, we definitely want to add some groove to that tom pattern at the end. So for this, I'll just get this clip because it sounds like it has toms in it, so that's why I chose it. And we're just gonna go with the same thing. We're just gonna shorten it. And then we're gonna hit Command J. And now we have a bunch of simpler little transients that Ableton can go ahead and extract. Alright, now let's add this to the pattern right here. So let's listen to this right now. Let's get rid of this, and we're gonna add this to it. A tiny bit more groove to that, I think. It's not very too noticeable, but it does make a difference. See, that one feels just a little bit straighter. So sometimes it's very subtle, but it's still something that you want to keep in mind, is to have the swing on certain stuff. Oh yeah, and right here I added a break kind of. It's just tambourine and then a kick, so it adds that break kind of drum fill effect at the end. Alright, I'm gonna keep doing this and then come back when I'm done doing this to all the clips that we're using. Alright, I wanted to get into the mixing process real quick, so I'm just gonna start by side chaining the chords and the drop chords and the bass to the kick that I have, and that's going to allow the kick to punch through. Because what you'll notice about Kaytranada songs, or what you have noticed, is that the drums are very clear. They're probably the most prominent part of the whole mix, so we want them to be able to punch through everything else. So right here I have a compressor. It doesn't have to be a Live 8 compressor, but since that's what I have on my track, I'm just gonna use that. And we're just gonna get like a decent ratio, and we're gonna side chain it to the first drum rack and then to the kick that we have. And right now, without the side chain, what I've done is I've actually increased the attack, so it kind of fades in a little bit. It gives it a softer texture. And yeah, basically this should allow the kick to have just a little bit of headroom, and we want the attack to be immediate. And I don't know, the release can be .30 or so. And we're just gonna copy that setting and we're gonna put it on the kick, or sorry, on the bass. And yeah, so Right now, as you can tell, I also delayed the bass a little bit, and I actually added some swing to it. I got some swing from the default core library, and I added that to the bass and kind of edited it a little bit. That was so hard to say. I edited it a little bit, and now it has a little bit of swing to it. So if you notice something, that's why. And also, I got rid of the extended notes. I made them short again because I just didn't like how it was sounding. It wasn't sounding like Kaytranada anymore, so I kept it plucky through the whole drop. And so yeah, that's basically the kick. Now also, his claps and stuff are gonna be super crisp and clear, and for that he'll use some processing, like through distortion and stuff, saturation, to get that kind of clarity. And he'll just use just distortion and stuff, pan them to get that stereo effect, and then clarity to the whole sound of the claps. So that's all that really mattered in the end. And I mean, at this point, it's all gonna come down to like panning the different sounds. This one is kind of stereo, but I know one of these claps is super. Yeah, this one is kind of it's super mono, so we want to get it out of the way of the rest of the mix. So we're gonna have to pan it to the left or the right or something. And I'm just gonna pan it to the left like 5 or something. Wait, which one is it? Okay, that one's stereo. Yeah, that one, and it's kind of loud as well. So I'm gonna turn it down to like -16. Here, let me pan it even more to the left. Let me turn down my volume, it's kind of loud as well. I'm gonna copy the saturation from that and put it on this sample right here. Alright. And let's go ahead and get some compression. Oops, not sidechain. Just regular compression on all of these, just so that they have a little bit more snap to them. And the kick is also in this pattern, so I'm gonna try to separate it from the rest of these drums. So I'm just gonna solo this, call it the kick track, and then in this one I'm gonna mute the kick that we have. So now we kind of have it by itself. And also I'm gonna have to fix the side chain on this bass and change it to kick. And we're gonna do pre-effects. Turn up the kick. Actually, at this point I'm gonna have to do some leveling and stuff, and leveling is just making sure the volumes are right for each of the instruments and are pretty balanced out, and then I'm gonna just come right back when I finish doing that. Alright, so real quick before I move on to the leveling, we also want the claps and all that. I'm just gonna call this drums. We want them to be sidechained to the kick. So like I showed you guys when we were making the drums, the claps and all that are just a little bit earlier than the kick every time it hits a new bar. So the reason for that is because we want it to kind of create this little suction effect, like it's a little bit before and then the kick just punches and cuts it off, kind of. And how we would do that is obviously by having them before the kick, and then having the kick, having the drums be sidechained to the kick so that it punches through them. And it's gonna give it that, I don't know how to describe it, just more crisp and punchy. It just lets each of the elements be able to have their part, like have their space, I guess is the best way to put it. So I'm gonna go ahead and sidechain. I'm just gonna get a new compressor because this one is already being used. I'm gonna sidechain it to kick. Oops. And we're gonna take this down like 6, so not too much. The attack is gonna be instant, and the release, we'll just keep it at 50. So if I take it all the way down, we just get that really crisp sound. And you can do this to get very creative effects and stuff for any type of music, really, with your drums. Everything sounds a lot more punchy. I'm gonna take it to -12. I don't want it to be too high. Let's see what happens when we take down the release. And I'm hearing that the cymbals and all that are getting sidechained as well. So actually, never mind, they're not. They're just kind of quiet. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing this kind of stuff, and I'll be back. I keep forgetting to do different things before the leveling, and one of them was EQing. So I kind of want to start doing the EQ on camera, and then you guys can go ahead and see kind of the basic process, and I may do a little bit more behind the scenes. But what I like doing sometimes is just getting, when I have a lot of tracks, is I like using returns, and I'll have like a mid and high range, and I'll have like a bass kind of range. And what I'll do is I'll get all of the sounds. Wait, what is this track right here? It says audio on it. Okay, it has nothing in it. And what I'll do is I'll send a bunch of I'll send the tracks to whatever kind of category they belong to, and mix, and just do one mix on one track to EQ out the low end, for example, from the mids and the highs, and then that'll save me a ton of time. So I'll get the piano, the chords, the lead, the sample that we were using, the crash, the tambourine, the drums, not the kick, and all those, and then I'll send those to let's do sends only. Alright, and I'll send those to the mid and high range track right here, and then I'll get some EQ, any type of EQ, and then we can see that there's some stuff going on down there, and obviously that is the bass's kind of range, so we want to cut that out. And I'll do something like 150. And let me try a more aggressive one. And these chords are kind of, the phaser's kind of strong on these right now. So I'm gonna change that real quick. I'm gonna put it back down to 3 notches. Alright. Anyways, we have a lot of the low end cut out. Now for different instruments, I'll go in and do extra stuff, and I have this quick edit rack, and it basically has a lot of these parameters just automatically mapped to macros that I can just move pretty quickly. And it's something that I just made myself just to save time. And for bass instruments, I'll usually just turn it off because the low cut does cut out some of the very low frequencies unintentionally, even when it's all the way down. So sometimes I'll do that. For this one though, I just didn't touch it. It's a different bass that I had. I didn't feel like it was a big deal, but yeah, for different things I'll come in and do different edits depending on what I want. And really, mixing comes down to what you want to stand out in your song, like what elements are going to be the most prominent, and everything else that is not prominent you want to go ahead and tuck it in its little spot. And that's why it varies so much. It's just different for each song, and sometimes it takes a long time to mix because you're just trying out different ideas. It's its own creative process. So if this does take too long, then I'll skip forward. But for certain sounds, okay, so again, I haven't done the leveling, but I know some of these are going to be a little bit quieter. I feel like the chords are super loud. And of course the bass is loud. So low cutting a lot of things. Usually I just use the low cut and the high cut kind of stuff, and then when things start getting kind of more difficult, then I'll actually go into the EQ and start doing very fine edits and stuff. So I've already done it on this sample. The drums are gonna be the most like complex part, I guess, because there's so many of them in one rack, and they each have a different purpose in the whole mix. So they have to be mixed individually. I can't just high cut it for all of them, you know. But I don't know right now. So this bass right here is taking up a lot of space. So what I did is I added an auto filter. And it just acts like a high cut filter, which I disabled right here because, again, the low cut is gonna affect the overall end product even if it's all the way down. So I just disabled it and added an auto filter. unfreeze this. Did I not? Oh, I didn't even send this to the mid-range bus, so I gotta do that real quick. I wonder what some saturation would sound on this. How it would sound like. I really have to play around with the settings because I'm not completely familiar with them. Sounds like it's just making it a bit louder. Yeah. Alright, anyways, I have to do the leveling before I can do the mastering, so I'm just going to do that and be right back in a second. And the leveling is just the volume, so it may take a long time, but you guys are not going to see that. So I finished the whole mixing and mastering process, and right here you can see my mastering chain. I did a mid-side EQ, and basically that splits up the track into a mono kind of mode and a stereo side kind of EQ. So on the sides I boosted up the highs, and in the middle I kind of took them out, and then on the sides I took out the lows a little bit. I should probably take out a little bit more, but I don't want to do that too much because our pad that we made takes up a lot of space. It has a lot of lows in it, or some lows, so I don't want to do too much to that. And basically I have some compression. It's just gonna make every little punch kind of hit a little bit harder. Some vinyl distortion. I didn't want to add any crackle because I felt like that effect just at least in this vinyl distortion, it kind of makes everything a little bit muddier than it needs to be. It's kind of cheesy, I guess. And then I added multi-band dynamics, and that's basically a compressor that's split over the middle, the high end, and then the low end, and I have different settings for each region. It's very subtle. And then of course I have a limiter, and I did left right on the limiter, which means that it's gonna limit each side individually because I have some elements that are panned very aggressively to certain directions or whatever. And I also wanted to add that Kaytranada most likely has much better plugins than just default DAW plugins for the mastering process, and he probably has a treated studio and all that. So I made this in a untreated bedroom setting, so keep that in mind. But this is still pretty good. I think it turned out pretty well, so yeah. But again, he has most likely high quality mastering plugins such as the waves kind of plugins, maybe some analog hardware and all that. I wouldn't be surprised if he did all that. So yeah. Alright, so another cool thing that I added was I made volume drops right before the kick comes in. So that's something that he does as well, and I did it on the master channel, and you're gonna hear it in the final product when I play that. But that's just something that I wanted to go over. So you're gonna hear that it kind of sounds very it just makes the whole thing sound a lot like him, and you're gonna hear it kind of adds a little bit of that swing that you hear. But basically right before a hard kick, I'll just drop out the volume. I think that's a eighth note, so at eighth before the kick comes in, I'll just drop out the volume completely on the master channel and then bring it back in. So that's something I wanted to go over as well, because you're gonna hear it in the final product. It makes a huge difference. So yeah, anyways, let's keep going, I guess. And yeah, the rest I just EQ'd, did a little bit of I did the volume leveling and did some panning, but I think that's gonna be it. I may do some stuff with the colors or whatever. I don't know, like color code it and make it look cool and stuff, but that depends. But if you learned something, or if you like the final product or this video, then go ahead and leave some feedback or a like, or let me know how I can improve or what you want to see next if you didn't like this. And yeah, if you dislike, then go ahead and let me know why, so I can go ahead and address that or try to make up for it next time. So this was my second time recording this, so I do put a lot of effort into this. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.